What is good? This is Ahead of the Spread, presented by Wager Talk, where we check out the open numbers, notable line movements, and discuss key matchups and angles for the next day. So you have an early edge for tomorrow's slate. I'm Ronald Cabang and the one and only Skee Prophet here with me. You see our X tags or um, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, right there on the screen there. Make sure you guys follow us. Also, make sure you guys head over to wagertalk.com and check out our work. You can see it scrolling on the bottom down there. We do have a deal going on, Ski. I don't know when it ends, but we have a BOGO package. So the rest of the NBA season for myself and Ski Profit for the price of one. For me, I know. I think I just talked to you right before the show, Ski. You didn't bet anything today. I went 1-1. I had the Knicks game over. The Knicks did not show up offensively, but I also had the Wolves team total over. So went 1-1. Lost some juice, but overall in the NBA right now, on a nice little run here. 23-8, I believe, since the beginning of the month. So hopefully we just continue going in that direction towards the end of the season. And I know Ski second part of the season where you rise and shine too, especially in the playoffs. But any comments before we get into the slate?
I like this comment from Anthony. Says the cream is rising to the top. The frauds will be exposed between now and playoffs. And
Hmm.
yeah, it's that time of year where it starts to get serious. So time where I really love the NBA. Um, can't wait till playoffs, especially. But
Yeah,
now teams really have stuff to play for. So I'm
I
loving
gotta
it.
believe, Ski. I think your last two or three playoffs, I think you're at like 75% win percentage, if I remember correctly. It's something like that, which is freaking crazy. But I know it's somewhere around there.
Well, I know playoffs have been very nice to me. One book that I bet at pretty frequently, I know the people behind the counter and the playoff run, like one of the last two, they got my account like they look at my account over there now because of the playoffs. So it's been nice to me. Hopefully we can continue.
Yes, sir. Let's make it happen. Get on this big run here towards the playoffs and through the championships too. So, let's get into the slate here. I'll share the screen. We're using Odds Logic here for the odds page. You can see the link in the description if you would like to check out Odds Logic and try it out. You can customize all your books. They also have the PPHs in here if you guys bet that way. So you could customize that. You could customize your alerts and injuries as well. So make sure you guys check out the link in the description. First game up here, we got Brooklyn and Washington. Brooklyn opened up at -3.5, and it's actually coming down to the Washington side, down to -2.5 at some of these books here. The total 213.5 at open has come up to as high as 214.5, but FanDuel actually has a 213. Let's go to injuries here. Brooklyn first. D'Angelo Russell and Cam Thomas continue to be out. And if we go to the Washington side, a few guys here. So we got Brogdon and Sadiq Bey out, Middleton, Sar, and Marcus Smart, all questionable. Let's go to themoneyballer.com here for this game. Situational notes for this one. Rest advantage on the net side, double digit in season revenge, but a letdown spot here. They did beat Philly outright as double digit dogs, and then you got the Wizards, second of a back to back, third game in 4 nights. So it's sort of like a fatigue spot versus a letdown spot here. Ski, what are your thoughts initially on this one?
My initial thoughts are the Nets they've been kind of playing good basketball lately.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking about it. I think they won their last game without D'Angelo Russell. You just mentioned as a double digit underdog, I think you
Mm-hmm.
said.
Yep.
Um and they have been playing solid. So looking now, counting it out, like I think they won four of their last five or something like that. They've been playing good basketball. A
Mm-hmm.
lot better basketball than what we've been seeing from this Washington team. And now they're the more rested team. Washington hasn't won a game on a second of a back to back all season. Now you're kind of, putting them in that price range where they have to win.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way you can get, I'm betting Washington with my money. So I hate that D'Angelo Russell still won't be available in this game, but
Yeah.
they did just win without him. It's Nets or nothing for me.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at full season stats, right? Like from the Wizards side, you mentioned they haven't won a game on a back to back. They also haven't won a game if they're less rested than their opponent, 0 and 12. Straight up from an ATS perspective on that back to back, 2 and 7 ATS, and you can see the Nets when they're more rested, 11 and 4 ATS. But one thing that what I was looking at earlier when I was capping this game, I don't agree with the line movement. Obviously, the way that you're looking at it, you probably don't agree with it going to Washington either. But if you look at some of the last 10 game numbers, look at that defensive rating. I mean, I know obviously both teams offensively aren't that great right now. Nets dead last in points per game, but they're also dead last because they're last in pace. But their defense, number one defensive rated team in the league over the last 10 games. So I think one thing you mentioned is, you can't really back teams who can't make stops, and it seems like the only team that can make stops here would be the Nets side. So I would look towards the Nets in this one as well. I'm pretty confused on why it's moving towards the Wizards side. But any thoughts on that? Why do you think it's moving towards the Wizards? I can't even make a reason up. Like
I didn't see if maybe D'Angelo got rolled out since the line came out. That's the one thing I could think. Other than that, I
nah,
don't understand
that
it.
was yeah, it was yesterday. So it was announced yesterday that he's going to be out. That's what it looks like. So I would look towards the net side here. I don't agree with the line movement at all. All right, let's move on to game two here. Denver and Indiana. We have Denver opening up at -4, up to 4.5 across the board pretty much. And then the total opened up at 247 down to 246.5 across the board. Yep. And then injuries will go to Denver. Oops. Denver. So Watson and Conchar are still out, and then we got on the Pacers side, McConnell questionable, and then Isaiah Jackson. All right, so we go to the moneyballer.com. Situational note here: Pacers on the second of a back-to-back. Rest advantage for the Nuggets. Also a bounce back spot. They lost to the Lakers outright at home a couple nights ago. They were 6.5 point favorites. Lost by 23. So huge loss there. They were on a big winning streak. The Denver Nuggets were. Do you think they bounce back here against the Pacers on the second of a back to back too?
Well, yeah. I mean, you're kind of just asking Denver to win almost at 4.
At four,
I,
yeah.
I think that line is really low. I know that we have some game time decisions for Denver, but they'll probably play in my mind and just getting Indiana on the second of a back to back. I mean, only way to look for me is Denver. I usually don't like to lay with teams that I feel like I can't trust that much defensively, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not like I really trust the Pacers either. I know last time we were talking, you said, numbers say Pacers defense has been better, but
Mm-hmm.
um, I just trust the Nuggets more. One thing I'll say is the total. I mean, we're starting to see. I feel like we just saw a Pacers game around what 250. Now we're seeing another one around 250.
Yep.
And that last one didn't make it.
Yep.
Um, I really think it could be an over game. Just not trusting both of these defenses, but the number is also a little bit too high. So one thing I'll say is with Indiana, they've been a team that does majority of their scoring in the second half. So total wise, this is one I'll probably watch the first 24 minutes. If it starts off slow, I'd be willing to jump in and bet like a second half over. But other than
Yeah.
that, I'll be looking towards the Nuggets.
So they did win today. They beat the Clippers, and then they're on the second of back to
129,
back.
111. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think so. One thing I looked at here was Pacers initially. Pacers on the second leg of back-to-back games, right? So they're 3-5 straight up, 2-6 ATS, 4-4 on the over/under. But I dove into a little bit deeper and say if they're coming off a win, right, and P win, um, 2-2 straight up, but 1-3 ATS, 3-1 to the under. They go under their team total in all three games. Um, it is pretty tight there, like just a bucket right there and a bucket here too. But I know you said you don't really trust the Nuggets defense, but in this spot here, it seems like they had to try or they had to. Oh, they were at home. All right, so yeah, second of a back to back. I mean, the Clippers are not a bad team, so they had to put out some type of effort in there to get the win. I feel like they might not have enough to not get enough effort to get up and over their team total tomorrow. Um, I was actually leaning towards the Pacers team total under, or in some way, or just the Denver side for the most part. But I mean, I can see where you're coming from with the over, just because both teams defensively not that great. One thing I looked at here, second of a back-to-back ATS, 2-6 ATS for the Pacers. This is the part where that I was looking at that team total too. Second of a back-to-back for the Pacers, 6-2 the team total under, and when they're less rested than their opponent, 11-3-1 to the under as well. It just seems like in this spot specifically, their offense may not show up. So I would lean towards the Pacers team total under. I mean, the Nuggets could actually push it over on their side too, right? So we both can win. You could say that there's a case that
Yeah,
could happen.
and lastly, I'll just the Nuggets did just get a spanking by the Lakers, so they
Yeah.
should be a little bit more upset and definitely come to play. I will trust them to come to play more than the Pacers off of a win
Hmm.
unrested.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one way to go, at least one of those ways to go is to fade the Pacers in some type of way, whether it's their defense or their offense, to be honest. So, all right, let's go to game three here. The Bulls and the Sixers. The Sixers opened up at -2.5, up to 3.5 at the highest. Can still get a -3 at FanDuel. The total 227.5. This is steamed up all the way to 232 at the highest. Can still get a 230.5 at FanDuel if you like the over. Injuries, Bulls. Jalen Smith downgraded to out. AO, Patrick Williams are out. And then we'll go to Philadelphia. Embiid unlikely to play. Maxi questionable. A few of these other guys are out. Let's go to the Bulls, Sixers. Situational notes here: in-season revenge, double-digit in-season revenge for the Bulls. Sixers in a bounce-back spot. We talked about how they lost to the Nets. Um, I mean, Embiid not likely to play. It seems like he might be out for a little bit too. So, what are your thoughts here with the Sixers team?
I really want nothing to do with this game. It's just too many question marks for me. Embiid, Maxi, like I can't bet the Sixers without Maxi. And the
Yeah,
Bulls, I know they've covered a couple at the break, but I really want nothing to do with them. So it's over or nothing. I really don't trust either team defensively, but I would need Maxi in to get there too.
yeah. One way, the only thing that I could point out on this game here is just the Sixers as home favorites. Um, I know it's only what 3.5 or whatever it is, but Sixers as home favorites, they're really struggling ATS wise. You can see here 1-11 ATS as home favorites. To the under 8-3-1, and then their team total under 9-3 to the under. So it just seems like what you said, especially if Maxi's not there, can't really trust their offense. Maybe one way to pivot would be to take their team total under, or just fade the Sixers as home favorites in general. So that's the way that I would look on that one. All right, let's go to the next game here. Clippers and Detroit. Clippers and Pistons. Clippers open up at -1 on the road here. This one's kind of in all over the place. So this has moved up to -1.5 at FanDuel, but this at DraftKings, Detroit is actually favored by 1. The total opened up at 223.5, and this has come down to 222 at the lowest. Can still get a 223.5 at FanDuel. Injuries, Clippers, Norman Powell, Kawhi Leonard are questionable. Ben Simmons is out. And then we'll go to the Pistons side. Fontecchio is questionable. Jaden Ivey out. All right, let's go to the money baller. Situational notes here. Both teams on the second leg of back-to-back games. Third game in 4 nights for the Pistons, so potential fatigue factor there. They were on the road for both of those games, and then they head home to face the Clippers tomorrow. So, what are your thoughts on this one? I mean, it seems like the Clippers have been on the road pretty much throughout two since the break. Travel fatigue. Pistons maybe a letdown after scoring like 150 almost today. What are your thoughts on this one, Ski?
Um, First of all, Pistons. Okay, both teams played yesterday, but the
Yeah.
Pistons, I feel like their game was more taxing. Like they had a few guys play 30 plus minutes, whereas the
Mhm.
Clippers, I think the only person to play over or play 30 plus was Harden. So I think they'll be a little bit more rested on that side. Another game where, you know, one side is off of a beat down, the other side is off of a win. So I do think the Clippers will be hungrier. Clippers haven't been great in back to backs this season, but do we trust? Well, actually, no. Clippers are the favorite here. I thought Detroit was laying. I was gonna say,
Mm.
do we trust Detroit really laying on a back to back? But
It's
I do
tight
think it.
though. I mean, it's at a minus one, right?
Yeah,
So there's a situation you could flip over too. So it's pretty close.
I would be taking the Clippers. They also haven't been good on the road, so it's reasons to hesitate.
Hmm.
But I just think the Clippers would be the more motivated team in this one, and those are the kind of teams I prefer to have my money on.
Yeah. So you mentioned the Clippers struggle on the back to back. Was it 3-7 straight up? 4-6 ATS. If you look at the under two in that spot for them, 8-2 to the under. But the Pistons, they're also on the second of back to back. They go to the over. Seems like they're when they suffer with fatigue, it could be their defense that really suffers, because their team total still goes up 7-3 to the over here. So I think one thing that I looked at as well, if you look at the Pistons over the last 10 games. They've covered a bunch here. I think 8 of the last 10 they've covered, and majority of it is because of their defense. Obviously, the Hawks put up a good chunk of points, but prior to that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight teams went under their team total. And if you look at the Clippers side, go back here and you look at their defense last 10 games. 15th in defensive rating. Their pace of play is a lot slower. You can see here, um, they're allowing opponents to shoot at a high rate, especially if you're looking at the effective field goal percentage and all that stuff. And then one thing here is the turnover rate as well. Clippers haven't been able to take care of the ball. You can see the Pistons here forcing a lot of turnovers. So it's points off turnovers is a huge deal. You got fast break points per game in transition. Seems like the Clippers are struggling there. Um, I would look towards the Pistons side. I think a lot of things are pointing in their direction. I know you bring up a good point about the fatigue factor and it being more taxing. So that's the only reason why I probably would lay off. But I would probably look into a little bit more just to double check on some stuff. But I would still lean towards the Pistons side. All right, let's go into the next one. Miami and Atlanta. So Miami -2 at open. This has come down to as low as -1 at FanDuel, but mostly -1.5 across the board. Atlanta 225. Oh, the total 225.5. This has come up to as high as 227.5, but can still get 226.5 at some of the books here. Injuries. We'll go to Miami. Jovic, Love, and Drew Smith out, and then we'll go to Atlanta. Larry Nance and Jalen Johnson. All right, so if we go to the money baller. So second of a back to back for the Hawks, second of a back to back for the Heat as well, but third game in 4 nights too. And then they also have the double digit in season revenge though. So you talked about that game with the Pistons being taxing. You kind of see that angle here. The Heat also, man, they third game in 4 nights and the second of a back to back too. So um, could be some fatigue on both sides on this one.
I'm not gonna lie. I didn't really catch today's game for the Hawks or the Heat. So um, I don't know. I guess I don't have too much of an opinion how taxing the game was,
Hmm.
but I don't really. I need Miami to show me a little bit more. Like I get it. You beat Toronto. I'm pretty sure they lost to Milwaukee today.
Yeah.
So like I'm just not impressed with what I've seen from Miami. Atlanta, they did fall off. Like they lost today, right? They lost to Orlando. They
Mm-hmm.
weren't bad losses. They lost to New York right before the break by one. Like it's been some close games, and before that, they were just on a win streak. So them being at home, I think they've shown me that they're the more trustworthy team than the Heat right now. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, or at least in current form, that's how I view them. So I'll lean with the Hawks.
Yeah, I think. I mean, you're right though. I mean, you could just look at the scoreboard and can tell they were just going up and down the court, right? So definitely from like some fatigue in that factor. One thing that I was looking at here was the total. With both teams hit with the fatigue factor, the second of a back to back on the season, both teams are really trending towards the under for the most part. Specifically, the Hawks under team total, but 92 to the under in the second of a back to back. But for me, I feel like with both teams, I would look towards the under in this one. I know the total is kind of low for a Hawks game. Where's it at right now? It's opened up at 225. It went up, and I'm assuming it's probably because of what they just saw today, right? The whole recency bias. They just put up 290 or whatever combined in this game tonight. So recency bias is just going to push that up with everyone betting the over. But to me, it seems like the under might be the way to go because if you look at the Miami side, I'm pretty sure their pace is really slow, right? 27. So if somehow the Heat go ahead and control the pace and they play some solid defense, this could be an under type game for me. The way that I would look at it.
Just clarifying something I said earlier. I did watch that little bit of that Hawks game because they played the Pistons, but I didn't watch the Heat game. But
Oh,
just
okay.
looking at the scoreboard, I mean, guys on both sides really played a lot of minutes yesterday. The
Hmm.
Heat, I mean, one guy in the starting lineup played 33. The other 4 out of 5 played 35 plus.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know they just had a big break, All-Star break, but could affect this game. It's just
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna stay away from this game, but I'll lean with the Hawks.
All right. So real quick question just on the thought process, right? So both teams really taxed, right, going into this game, which would mean that you would think that they would have a deeper rotation, right? They should play some of their bench players heavier minutes in the second game, wouldn't you think? So would offensive efficiency come down a bit, in your opinion?
With them playing, say that again. With them playing bench guys.
Yeah, so obviously the key players played heavy minutes today, right?
Okay, okay,
So
I get what you're saying. Yeah, yeah, that
tomorrow
makes
you would
sense.
expect them to come down in minutes, and then the
Yeah,
bench players who are less efficient offensively, their minutes would come up. So for me, I'm expecting offensive rating to come down. And if you look at the last 10 games, both teams really on the bottom half of the league in offensive rating. Pace of play on the Heat side is near dead last. I just feel like just trying to talk out the thought process of maybe taking an under here. I know it's going up, and it's a low total for a Hawks game, but it just seems like opening up at 225 and a half, kind of telling, right? To say maybe the under is the right way to go.
I definitely understand the thought process.
but they can't do it with the Hawks, right? I
I
know what you
just,
want to
man,
say.
it's
Hell
hard,
no.
man.
Yeah, yeah, no, I get you. Because yeah, pace of play on the Hawk side, defense on the Hawk side as well. But yeah, I'm just trying to see if I could push an under here, but probably gonna stay away. All right, let's go on to the next one. 3 games left: Minnesota and OKC. All right, so -12 at open. This came out. This line came. I was waiting for this line to come, and it came out right after the game ended. So it opened up at -12, and then 12 and a half at one of the PPHs. Circa has 12 and a half. The total 226 and a half at open. Seeing a 227 and a half at Pinnacle, and then a 226 at DraftKings. But across the board, pretty much 226 and a half. Injuries probably won't see much since it just ended not too long ago. Uh, so Gobert's questionable, and then Randall and DiVincenzo still out. All right, so then we go to OKC. Nothing there. I know Chet's coming back from the injury, so I think that that might be something to think about, potentially him sitting on the second of a back to back, or limiting the minutes. But what are your what are your thoughts on this one with both teams playing again, right? The next day they do switch spots though, right? They were in Minnesota and they're going to be in OKC tomorrow.
Yeah. Um, I don't like, some of the guys. The Minnesota has had what DiVincenzo, Randall out
Hmm.
for a little while now. I don't like that for them. Um, I trust OKC's defense, I think, more than anything in this game.
Hmm.
So missing those couple guys for Minnesota, playing on the back to back too, you could be missing some other guys. I think regardless who's in for the Thunder, we can trust them to play defense. The last four games, they held opponents to 107 or less. You're looking at a 107.5 team total. I think that's worth a look for the under on the Timberwolves side.
Yeah, I like that look. I agree. So I obviously I talked about it earlier. I did have the Minnesota Timberwolves team total over today. But I do think that it's actually the opposite for tomorrow. I think we're going to see a slower pace game, more defense on the Thunder side. And we know the Wolves play. Sorry, the Thunder play a lot better at home as well. Um, for the most part. I, with that said, though, do you think a full game under, or would you just focus completely on the Minnesota side to struggle?
I misspoke too. Three of their last four games, they've held opponents under that number. One of those games, they played Minnesota, the game right before a break, and they allowed 116 to Minnesota.
Gotcha.
So, your question, I mean, I can understand including Minnesota's defense. I
Yeah.
definitely can understand that. So, I'm not mad at full game under because
Yeah,
you're
because I
not,
mean, just if you're looking at the last 10 games, both of their defense is really solid, and then Wolves' pace of play is pretty slow as well. Um, I just feel like tomorrow is going to bring a different atmosphere as far as like defensively, and the hometown crowd for Thunder as well. They play a lot better defensively there. Um, but so it's at, you said it's 107 right now.
yeah, for a team total.
I think man, that might be a way to go. I do think that Wolves team total under uh, is pretty solid. Okay, I'll put that in my mental. All right, so um, let's move on to the next one. We got two more. Man, these last two games are ugly. All right, last two games here. Portland and Utah. Uh, Utah opened up at -1. This has moved to -3 for Portland. And we'll see the injury report for the reason why. And then the total 232.5. This has come down to 230.5 at the lowest, but 231.5 across the board for the most part. So if we go to injuries, we'll go to Portland first. Robert Williams ruled out. Aiton and Thibault continue to be out. And then we go to the Utah side. This is the reason why the line has shifted all the way across. Whole bunch of guys here. So Clarkson and John Collins downgraded to out. Sexton has already been out for a bit, and then Markkinen and Kester are both questionable. So a ton of guys out here, or potentially out as well. Um, I mean, for me, the only way that I could look is the Blazers side. I know they're not favored often, but I believe they were a road favorite once, and they won that game. I forgot who it was against, but when I was handicapping it, but I think that that's just too much missing on the Jazz side. I would only look towards Portland. What are your thoughts, Ski?
Man, all the whole time you're talking, all I can think about is I just really don't want to bet this game. So, and,
It's
and also, yeah, I don't know. I want nothing to do with it, bro. I could sit here and try to, just talk about whatever.
yeah.
No, nothing. Portland, Utah.
There's
I met
nothing here.
I met a
But
nice
you
a
know,
nice lady from Utah
how it is
lately.
though, Ski. The
I
ugly
didn't I
games
didn't
is where
think.
you can cash.
Yeah, but this is like it's not even ugly. It's like it's man. You might need some water if you think it's, it's a lot better games to choose from, man.
Yeah, yeah. I see you. I see you. All right, last game. Oh shit! All
Oh
right.
man, I know what that was.
Yep. That was my light. My light fell. All right, so that's how we're gonna do it. It's like, all right, so last game on the board. We got the Hornets and the Kings. Kings double digit favorites at home and total up to, oh sorry, down to 230 and a half at the lowest, 231 and a half across the board pretty much. All right, so the injuries.
Oh, good. It
The
could have
chat,
been worse.
yeah, it could have definitely been worse. All right, so uh Charlotte. All right, so Mark Williams is out, Okogie is out, and then obviously the guys who've been out for the rest of the season. And we got the Kings. Nothing on theirs. All right, so we go to moneyballer.com. First game of back to back for the Hornets, fourth game in 6 nights. And then the Kings side, they're the more rested team, obviously. So, what are your thoughts on this one, Skee? I'm gonna go fix my light though. You can talk it out.
Yeah, handle that, man. Handle that. I my thoughts for this game. First off, is you guys should know, like I'm not a big fan of this Kings team. Um, I look at them and I just see a lot of guys who can go out there and get a bucket. I don't think you'll ever really get this team to play, very solid individual or team defense. And if you're not doing that, how are you going to win by big margins like this? Now, with that
Mhm,
said, this team has changed a lot lately. Like I know we've added some pieces, etc. They are 5-1 as a double digit favorite, the Kings. So
mhm.
that's probably before they made some of these moves. Um, Hornets, I mean, as big underdogs of 7+, they're 16-8 ATS. So I think just not trusting, like I always say, if you can't trust them defensively, you're gonna lay big numbers. That's the theme of this game for me. It's Hornets or nothing.
Okay, you get so when I was looking at this one, I was looking more so at the total ski. I was looking at the under. I know Kings defense has been struggling, but look at Hornets offense, dead last in offensive rating. So that's going to cancel each
That
other
last
out.
game is gonna throw off a lot of stats too. I mean, now I'm thinking about it, that last game was
It was
pathetic,
terrible. Yeah,
pathetic.
it was terrible. But also the pace of play, though, Ski. I mean, the Kings their pace of play has come down a ton since Fox has been out. So I know this includes last 10 games or whatnot, but I think it's a lot slower than what it is. And then the Hornets, obviously, their pace of play is really slow. I just don't think that either team is going to put up a good chunk of points for the most part. So I was really just fading both offenses right now just because of how they've been playing. The total at 230 and a half, and you can see the last 10 games, they're averaging what, 217 ish on average for both teams here. It just seems like it's a little bit too high for the most part. So I was looking at the under here. I know Charlotte just gave up 141 points. People are going to probably fade their defense, right? They're going to fade the Kings defense because they just gave up a whole bunch of points to the Warriors and the Pelicans. Um, I just feel like that's not going to happen here with both teams really struggling offensively for the most part. So I would probably stay away from the side and look towards the the under in this one. All right, that's it. That's all 8 games for tomorrow. Let me close that out here. And so just real quick before we go into the recap, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button here for the channel and our show. Leave comments after the show as well so that we continue to, that they allow us to continue doing the show here. um, Also, make sure you guys check out the moneyballer.com. That's the site we use for the stats, insights, and all that. We have Odds Logic is the odds page and injury report that we use. And then obviously over at wagertalk.com, we have that BOGO deal that I was talking about with um, the rest of the NBA season for myself and Skee for the price of one. And you can go to either of our capper pages right there, Skee, wt.buzz /HP, or myself, wt.buzz /RC to check out what we got going on. Um, All right. With that said, Ski, what are your thoughts here as far as like leaving the viewers with some leans or whatever?
Yeah, appreciate you guys staying up late watching the show. Locking in with us right now. I'm looking at the Nets, the Nuggets, and that Timberwolves OKC game, either under or Timberwolves team total under.
Mhm.
Right now, that's what's standing out to me.
All right. I gotta write that in. All right. So Nets. I agree with Wolves team total under. I agree with. I think the Pistons. I know you don't like this other game, but I still like. I think the Blazers are the right side, and then the Kings and Hornets under. I think those are all the ones that I was looking at. Wait, you said Nuggets, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Nuggets. So that game, I was looking at Nuggets or the Pacers team total under. Those would be the ways that I would look on that one. All right. With that said, Ski, any last comments before we cut out?
Nah, think we did a solid job.
Yes, sir. All right, so we'll be back tomorrow, 10 p.m. Pacific Standard. We'll go through the slate for Tuesday. There. Yeah. With that said, guys, that's the end of the show. Whether you fade or follow, it is on you to make that call. Good luck with all your actions. Until next time. Peace.